Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Speakable webinar, this time on general best practices. Welcome. I see we have viewers on Twitter, viewers on StreamYard, and on YouTube. So, yes, feel free to comment whenever you have a question. Let me know where you're teaching from, what you're teaching. If you are already a Speakable user. In the meantime, let me tell you a little bit about today's session. So we're going to focus on general, settings, combinations, and tips and tricks, smaller things that have a big impact in the success of a speakable activity. So we're going to focus on the different activity types, like tips for repeat, tips for respond, a balance of the general activities, classroom tips, things like that. So we're going to be covering those. So I mean, this is for uh, users who have been who are already acquainted with the platform, but still, I am going to be explaining, the features in general as we go for the folks who have not used Speakable yet. On that topic, if at any point you feel like, okay, maybe this is something that my school could use, but you're not sure yet on, if you can you pay for the premium features at the moment, then let me know. Have I can arrange a pilot with you and your school, so that if you want us to talk to your principal, your director of the department or whatever, so we can get you started with the premium features and everything. So you can try it out. We can start a pilot program. So feel free to let me know if that's something that interests you, and I can take it from there. So yeah, let's get this started. So I'm going to show you my Speakable screen. That way I'm going to start with activity creation tips and tricks. So you should be able to see my screen now. Let me rearrange this so it's a little bit more visible. Cool. All right. Good. At any point, I'm going to be going back and forth between Speakable and our streaming platform. So any questions you might have, I'll be able to, every now and then visit the comment section to see if there are any questions. So today, let's begin with activity creation. So for the people that don't know, Speakable is a tool that will allow you to give your students a safe space to practice. And there are multiple like actions that they can do, or multiple types of practices that you can do to have them, to have your students practice beyond your classroom. So you can extend, I'm going to say, the life or the utility of your class by adding some extra Speakable activities, or some teachers prefer to use Speakable within the classroom. So that's something you can do as well. So yeah, let me get this. Okay, so let's begin with the types of activities. So for that, I'm going to go to create activity up here in the top right. And I'm going to create an activity. I can create it with AI, and I do have some comments on this, as well as import vocab list, but I'm going to start from scratch so that we go over like individual features at Speakable. So update coming, looks like yes. Okay, so let me start by with this cover image, right? So anything that you create at the beginning, and you simply exit out, like this is going to be saved as a draft. For example, let me just write test here, but I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm just going to go out, exit out to the library. It's still going to be there, but I mean, as long as I mean, you don't have to save it for it to be there. So let me create one that where we really start doing something. So I would recommend this for everyone. You can do this now, or at the end when you're ready to publish your activity, you can upload a cover image, and that's something that I would recommend. So for the sake of this one, let's just do the Eiffel Tower. I have no idea why. I just thought about this, but it seems like a pretty way to start the activity. So let's give it a test. So it's going to be tips and tricks and best practices, right? So that's going to be today's topic. That's something I recommend. Give your activity a name. This subtitle doesn't really matter that much in terms of organization, but cover and title does matter. And the reason is because when you go to the library, you're going to very quickly identify them. So as you can see, the test that we did before is here, but there's nothing. So it's just like a T, right? So first tip, cover and title. That way we can quickly identify them at a glance and be able to organize them a bit better in your library. But let's begin with the student actions specifically. So I'm going to begin with the repeat card, which is the one I activated here. So you click on the plus sign to add content. I'm going to go to the repeat card. And as you know, the repeat card is basically there for me to show vocabulary or a sentence to the student, and they repeat, right? So let's do something like the rhinoceros is big, right? Something like this, and your students will be able to play it and repeat. Now, first tip when it comes to repeat cards, pay attention to the little label that appears right below it. That information is only visible to you. Your students will not see it, but this is like a good way for you to see if this is going to work. More on that later. But if you see unverified, don't fret. It's just that no one has used this sentence before, so the system has not verified that it works fine. However, there's no reason why it wouldn't. Let's test it.
The rhinoceros is big.
The rhinoceros is big. So as you can see, it clearly worked, right? Now, when I reload this, it's going to show up as verified. So now that we did it, it's verified. So if it's in green, you're set to go. If it's unverified, you can. I mean, it will work, but it will just be, like if you can verify it, that's cool. That way, yeah, like the system will know, everything's fine with this, and no alerts will be shown later. I will show you what would be an alert that is, let's say, worthy of our attention and something we should definitely avoid. But I mean, other little things that are important for repeat cards. I don't know if you like this voice.
The rhinoceros is big.
But if you don't, you can change it, right? So if you want to change the voice, you can come here into the settings and change the voice yourself. So here in repeat settings, I can change the default voice. So I want it to be Sally. Let's see what Sally sounds like.
Hi, my name is Sally. I will be the narrator of this assignment.
I like this one. So let's see what this sentence sounds from Sally's voice.
The rhinoceros is big.
I like it a little bit more natural. I prefer this one, but of course you can test it and try all of the ones that we have. There are several. Of course, the bigger the language, the more voices you have to choose from. But yeah, I'm going to stick to Sally. So something else that you can do here is if you want to keep more close contact with your students, is you can make it be your own voice, right? So if you don't want the computerized voice, you can have even though it sounds very natural, you can record your own voice, and that's what your students will hear, right? Yes, I just saw some comments. So, hello teacher, what do you teach? I teach English, Spanish, and German. Those are the languages I teach. Today I am teaching you Speakable. So we're using an activity in English, but we could do whatever. So yeah, Carmita, I'm also a Spanish teacher. So if there's something that's specific to the languages that you teach, I will comment on it. So yeah, I mean, for example, I will comment on something here. So remember this label that we saw before? Right now it says verified. There is one label that you should definitely pay attention to. I'm going to create another repeat card to show you this. And I would like you actually to participate on this. So like, for example, what if I do this? Yeah, The letter C.
C.
I mean, Sally says it's right, but it says not recommended for use. Anyone in the audience, do you have any idea like why this would not be recommended for use? Like, namaste. Yeah, namaste. Hello from India. Oh my God, it must be very late for you. It must be, let's see, my calculation is right. About 11 p.m. or 12, actually. No, actually later than that. It must be tomorrow already. Anyway, welcome. Everybody's welcome. So yeah, back to the question. Why do you think this is not recommended for use? Anyone? Any comments? So I say this because this is a very, I guess, popular request that we get, and that is some of us are teaching languages to students who are, true beginners. Like this is the first time they approach the language, and of course it will be natural for us to want to teach the alphabet. But there's a problem with this. Let me explain a little bit how repeat card works. So this works with your computers or your devices, speech recognitions, 3:12 a.m. Okay, so good morning then. So the repeat card works with your device's voice recognition systems, and the device will hear the student's voice and create a transcript for it. But there's a problem, and this affects some languages more than others, and that is what about languages that have a lot of homonyms, right? So different words that sound the same. So by default, if someone says "see," the computer will not know if it's going to write "see" as in "I can see" the verb, or the sea is blue. So C can be the letter, C can be the verb, or C can be the water, right? The water C. So if you're planning on doing exercises with the alphabet, I recommend two approaches. All you need to do is give the system more context, so that when your computer looks for tries to recognize the voice, it has the context to compare with. So for example, if I simply do C, it will not do it, right? It will not cut it. But if I go with C is for coconut, yes, then it will have enough context for the activity to work. C is for coconut. There you go. Let me show you what happens if I don't do that. If I just do the C, right? So C, and I go C. C. Okay, got it. But it took me a while, right? It doesn't know if it's right, the C or the verb to see. The same thing is true for B, right? Like the B is, the letter. So if you want to teach something like this, the other approach, aside from giving context, like this one, C is for coconut, is to provide more context of simply more letters, like A, B, C, D. Yes? And if you have that, then it's going to know when you say B and C, it's going to know, oh, right, these are the letters, not the animal or the ocean. So A, B, C, D. Immediately it got it, right? So this is like if you're planning on teaching something that's monosyllabic, this is my approach. Don't teach just that syllable, just the letter, just the number, but give it context like this one, either by definition or something else to draw from. This takes me neatly to other homonyms. Like for example, take a look at this. What if I want to create a repeat card that is this word, right? So if I click on it, read, right? But what if, oh no, I didn't want to teach the present. I want to teach the past, right? So how do I do it? I mean, it's spelled the same, but take a look at what happens if I go with I read a book every day, right? If I click on this,
I read a book every day.
It would still, give it a context. So I read every day. Yes. On the other one, let's create another one that is I read a book yesterday, right? So let's play this one.
I read a book yesterday.
I read a book yesterday. So even though this one is read, it knows that it is read because this is the past, right? And if I do the same thing here, I read every day, or I read as much as I can, right? Then we try. I read as much as I can. It knows that this read is the read and not the read, right? Because the rest of the context is in present. So yeah, this is like another recommendation that I give you. Homonyms tend to be problematic if you leave them alone. So if you're teaching a specific one, give it the context that will provide the system with the means of knowing which one you want the students to repeat. Because again, this works with the device's voice recognition system. So this is actually not Speakable, I'm going to say, processing the transcript. This is your student's computer, iPad, Chromebook, whatever, right? Okay, so I see we have a question. This is not a grammar lesson. This is going to like a lesson on how to use this platform. Yes, this platform is Speakable. This is a platform used to teach languages. So this is a platform that's targeted to so that teachers can use it. And yeah, I am a teacher, but I am not teaching specifically languages right now. I am teaching you how to use Speakable in the best way possible. Yes, this is to answer Anurag's question here that on YouTube. So this is not for a language, but this is, I'm teaching you how to use the tool so that you can teach the languages that you teach. So, all right, that's the question. Let me continue with the repeat card. So again, the important details for the repeat card. Context is your friend, especially for monosyllabic answers. C is for coconut, A, B, C, D for alphabet. That works very well. If you have words like read and read, which are spelled the same, but they have different pronunciations, then give the context so that it knows if you're talking about the present or the past. Another final comment on the repeat card. There are some languages that are more susceptible to, let's say, this issue than others. And those are languages that have lots of homonyms, as we mentioned. So many things that sound the same, but they are different. French, I'm looking at you. So especially with French, this can be an issue because, for example, what if you're teaching the numbers and you're saying un, deux, trois, right? And it just so happens that deux could be D-E-U-X as in the number. It could be D-E as in the connector. It could be D-E-S, but it's the plural, the same one, but plural. But since the S is silent, then you would not pronounce it. So if you're teaching something that sounds like de, make sure that Speakable has enough context, like un, deux, trois, the three numbers together, and it will work. Another quick tip is going to the settings and check the repeat settings, just like we changed the default voice. Something else you can do is change the leniency. Yeah. So if you feel like your students are true beginners, they are starting their world in the beginning of, they're in the beginning of this journey in this language, and this language that you're teaching happens to be very quirky, I'm going to say, in terms of phonetics, like French or English to some extent, then play around with the leniency, right? For example, a student teaching Spanish is difficult in grammar, but it's very easy when it comes to pronunciation, because the pronunciation in Spanish is pretty, I'm going to say, honest to how it's read. So if you see an A, there's only one possible pronunciation. If you see an S, there's only one possible pronunciation, unlike other languages. So Spanish doesn't have this as much, but French does. So if you're a French teacher and you're having trouble with your students, not getting the right sounds, and the system is thus not producing the correct transcript for it, then try tweaking the leniency for this. The same thing is true for the other direction. If you want your students to really, really, really pay attention to and mimic your pronunciation perfectly, then play around with a very lenient, strict repeat setting, so that your students practice a little bit more. So there you go. So settings regarding the repeat cards. Context is king. If you're teaching monosyllabic answers like numbers or letters, make sure that they have enough context for it. And the one last thing that I have, like this is an invitation for all teachers, not necessarily just language teachers, is they play around with the explanation and translation features, right? So if you know that your students have a like this native, my students, let's say they're Spanish native speakers, I will select in translation, and if they need it, for example, for this one, which is a little bit more complicated, I'm going to add the translation in Spanish so that they know, and they can click on little chatty and they will get the translation. If you want to also give them an explanation for what it is, you can add it. So the rhinoceros is huge animal that lives in Africa and Asia. Let me capitalize that. So that you're not only teaching, the sounds, but you're also teaching the content. So, for example, if you want to teach your students new words, you can add the definitions here, right? And then when they click a little chatty, they will get the translation and the explanation for it, right? So that's something else you can do, and you can of course change the translation at any point. I'm going to edit and German, and there you go. Why do I have it? Yes, I have to go back. So there you go. You can teach, like, those are like the tips for the repeat card in particular. But oh yes, I have a quick question. What is the time by your watch? I am in Colombia in South America, and here it is 4:53 p.m. So still daylight, so it's the afternoon time for us. All right, cool. So let me go to, this time I'm going to focus on the respond card. So the respond card is the most important card in my opinion, and most of your cards should be response if you're teaching languages. Why is that? Because this is where you ask a question, an open question like, how old are you, right? And then your students will be able to respond. How complex the prompt is will determine how complex the student's answer is expected to be, right? So you could ask questions like this. Just let me try this for you. So you can test it in the bottom part or in the preview section here. So I'm going to click on the preview, and this is what the students would see. And let's just test it. I am 35 years old, which is true. I'm going to save my answer, and Chatty's going to process the answer, and it's going to be a pass, right? So good job. Your response has been submitted successfully. Your response clearly answers the teacher's prompt and provides a concise statement about your age. While grammar errors are not present in your response, it's important to focus on maintaining clarity in your answers. Great job. And I can have, like my answer here in the suggested response, and this was exactly what I said. So I did pretty well. But of course, the more complex the
rhinoceros is big.
The more complex the question, the more complex the answer. So I could have something like, how old are you, and do you feel like and how do you feel about your age, for example, and how do you feel about your age, right? So this is of course more like we want the students to elaborate and to focus more on their fluency, and maybe we want a wordier answer. We want a more verbose answer. So I'm going to go right ahead and show you. I'm going to actually show you what happens if you don't do what it says. So I'm just going to answer the first part, but not the second part. So I am 35. So that's something that your students could do. Your students could answer the question, but very short, very like in a lazy way, I'm going to say, and say, okay, look at this. So the same answer that I had before is no longer acceptable because the prompt is much more complex. So your response provided your age clearly, which is good. However, it didn't fully address the entire prompt, as it didn't include your feelings about your age. Consider adding how you feel about being 35 to complete your answer. So there you go. So first tip is, the more you ask, the more you'll get. And if you ask a lot, it will not accept a little, right? So the prompt quality is of utmost, the utmost importance here. You can have the prompt be an order, not necessarily a question, but like, an imperative, like describe the weather where you live, something like this. It doesn't have to be a question. So I can go like, oh, the weather is fantastic, it's nice. So that's something you could do as well. Not just a question, but a prompt. But again, the more complex the prompt, the more complex the answer. So that's the first tip. Second tip is play around with the features, right? Like the different settings that we have here. So we have auto grading on and off, which of course, if we want auto grading in this that's one of the most important features that we have. We normally recommend turning that on. But if you want the students to be able to answer this, but you want to grade them, then of course turn auto grading off. If you want to tweak how the feedback is provided, you can do this. For example, as you can see, this is an English class and the feedback is provided in English. But I can have this be an activity in a different language, and I can change this, of course, because everything is set to English here. I only have the option for English. But if I am teaching German and my students are, at a level where they can they can read the comment in Spanish and they will not get lost, I can do that. So let me create another one for this. So I'm going to go back to the library. I'm going to create an activity in a different language so that I can show you that. And I'm going to create one here, start from scratch. Again, I'm going to create a respond activity. Oh, but never mind. I forgot something, but I can change it here. I'm going to change this one from English to Spanish. And let's go to the content. Let's see if this is set up. Yeah, this is set up in Spanish. And I'm going to be like, ¿cómo está el clima hoy? So this is going to be the same question, like, how's the weather today? But I'm just going to change it to Spanish. And I'm going to change this so that the feedback is not in English, but in Spanish. Also to show you, I'm going to show you what the ACTFL level does. So it's going to give me an estimation of where I am based on ACTFL standards. Remember, ACTFL is like a standard for how complex or how proficient a student's language is. So I'm going to turn that on as well to show you. So again, let's go to the preview. And just like before, we can add media, but let me go to the preview and I will answer this one. El clima hoy está soleado, pero un poco frío. El viento baja las temperaturas. You know what? Let me try. I stumbled. So, el clima hoy está muy bueno. Está soleado y un poco frío por el viento. Okay, so that's going to be my answer. I'm going to submit it, and Speakable is going to grade it. So, yeah, based on this, the student provides a clear, coherent response. So it is an intermediate high level. Yes, I was fairly fluent, lots of words per minute, some interesting conjunctions used here. And of course, take a look at the feedback. So la respuesta es clara y concisa. Now, this time is in Spanish, right? So if you are teaching a language and you want the students to receive the feedback in their language, you can do it. But if you want them to receive the feedback in the language that you're teaching, you can do it too. And I can show you the grammar insights. It is grammatically correct. You can still click on the suggested response to see, a perfected version of my answer. If the students are very good, they can still, do better, I'm going to say, with this. So, I guess some questions here. Oh, many questions about Colombia. Yes, the president of Colombia is Gustavo Petro. For some, there are many volcanoes. Yeah, sure, but not around where I live. And which language am I speaking? I was speaking Spanish. So this is a Spanish activity, and all of this is in Spanish. All right, cool. So let me go back to the respond features. So, something else that I would recommend that you play around with is the different, I guess, the time limits for the answers. I haven't touched this by default. This is set to 30 seconds. Like, this is a default setting, but you may want to extend this or limit this. So why would you want to extend it? Well, if you ask a more complex question, then of course, give the students more time to answer, right? But there's a point, or there is a case to be made for the opposite, for reducing the time, right? So one thing you could do is you could ask a complex question, but give your students a very short time to answer. And let's say the purpose of this is to focus on fluency, right? So if you have identified that your students' answers are very slow and they are not very fluent, then you can create an activity that will, I'm going to say, encourage them to go faster. So how do you know if your students are being fluent or not? So let me go back to the to the main menu, and I want to show you the classroom, because I want to focus on like action and reaction. So if you have already created speakable activities for your students, and your students are doing well or not doing very well, then of course you should adapt and create the rest of the activities based on those results, right? And some of those results can be measured here. So I'm going to go into this student's answer, and I'm going to open any of these response cards, and I can check something like this. So this is like the grading section, and this is my student's answer. I can hear it, I can see the transcript, I can see the feedback provided by the AI, and I can provide my own feedback, right? But which of course is important on its own. But take a look at these measurements here. Duration, 5 seconds. Words per minute, 97. Total words spoken, 9. So you can take a look at your students' answers and evaluate them. So take a look at this. Okay, this student has 97 words per minute in 5 seconds. Let me check another student in the same question. So let me go to this one. Same question was this one. And we have 29 seconds, 163 words per minute. So based on this, I already know which of my students would benefit from a fluency kind of activity. So one of those activities where I limit the time so that I, encourage them to go faster, right? So that's something I could do. And let's say this is one of the metrics that you have in order to adapt further activities or any activities that you make later on, right? So that's something else. So let's go back to the Spanish activity. Let's continue editing it. And that's something you could do, right? Like encourage your students to do it quickly, or give them enough time to do whatever they want. The same thing is true for writing, but of course the case for limiting the characters there is more limited, right? So I mean, I understand the case for limiting time for speaking exercises, but for writing ones, I mean, why would I reduce it to such short answer? Of course, at this point, I recommend just extending it if you need a longer answer. So next item is auto grading. This is going to be an entire a topic so big that it deserves its own video, and it kind of has. I have expanded on this in other webinars, and I will again. But just a quick reminder: auto grading will allow you to take full control over what goes into the student's grading system. And right now, everything you have seen is using the pass-fail system. But if you click on rubric-based, you will be able to take more, to give more variables or specify the variables that you want evaluated. By default, we have this one: grammar, relevance, and completeness. But you can edit it. So there are several different levels of proficiency assigned to each category. You can click on this one to create like advanced plus, for example, if you want something else that gives 3 points and not 2, and you can define it as the student made no mistakes at all, right? You can define it to see what it is, or you can remove it altogether. So if there's a field that you don't care about being evaluated, for example, in this case, I don't care about grammar. I only care that my students speak, full sentences and they're relevant to the prompt, then I can limit this. I can select from a library of rubrics here. I can show you some of the ones I have. This one is about email writing. This is about clarity and fluency in presentations. This is a specific one I created for a specific grammar topic, which is the pretérito imperfecto in Spanish. Another one for emails, but in French. Another one about the Constitution for law students. And one for medical students. I mean, the limits are in your imagination. You can do whatever you want with rubrics, and you can use them too. However, again, this is if you want to have lots of control over what goes into the grade. But if you simply if you simply want your students to speak up and to answer correctly with good grammar, then auto grading pass fail, the simple one, is enough, right? Like this is enough for, I'm gonna say 90-80% of any interactions you might need. So this is one thing to tweak as well. Final tip and trick when it comes to response cards is the AI context. So you can add some media like a video, an image, text, blog, podcast, or a mix of everything to any card, and you can simply use them as decoration or context. So I'm just going to add with I don't know, illustration of a house. Yes, I'm going to use the illustration of a house, and I can. This looks like the Simpsons house. Okay, I'm going to add the Simpsons house here. I'm not sure if it is. Anyway, and I can ask the students something like, this is in Spanish, so I'm just going to add, what is this picture, or describe the picture, like describe la foto. So I'm just going to ask them to describe the picture, but I'm going to click on AI context. Remember, you don't have to do this, but if you want the prompt to be about the picture, click on AI context and generate, and then Speakable will read the image and will understand what the image contains. So you can then ask questions about that, right? So I recommend that you use this if you're planning on doing some AP tests or things like that, where, like there's an audiovisual component. Your students are requested to describe an image to get the main idea of a video, of a listening exercise in a podcast. So all of these things are very important for, the acquisition of new languages. So let's take a look at this. When it's done generating, it will take a couple seconds doing it. You can hover your mouse over it, and you can see what Speakable understands from the image. So the image features a charming illustrated house with a beige brick exterior and a sloped brown roof. It showcases multiple large windows, adding a welcoming touch with a blah, 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 right? So like Speakable knows what the picture is about. So if you ask describe the picture here, it will know. If, for example, I'm going to describe something that's completely wrong. I'm going to describe something that is not this house. Let me test it. Let me show you how that will work. La foto muestra un señor con bigote y sombrero rojo. Okay, so my answer was way off. If you speak Spanish, then you know what I said. If you don't, it's like I described a person who has a mustache and a big red hat. And of course, it didn't accept my answer, right? So your answer does not describe the picture according to the context provided. So there you go. And it gave me a novice low because, of course, it didn't understand. I didn't understand the assignment. So you can see that it does know what it is about. So let me try another one. And this one will come with another tip, which is, let's add a video, right? I'm going to add media, add video, and I'm going to add a video about, I don't know, this temple in Istanbul. I'm going to do it in Spanish because everything is set up here to Spanish. And I'm going to add this video. This is a video about this temple in Turkey. And I'm going to do the same thing. ¿De qué trata este video? Right? I can ask you, what is this video about? And I can add the AI context. But while it's thinking, my next tip and trick for the response card is always test the AI context. The reason is, especially when you're using video, it like what it does is Speakable will not read, it will not watch the video. It will watch the transcript of the video, right? And what happens if this video doesn't have any words, right? I haven't seen this video. I don't know if this will work. But if a video does not have words in it, then Speakable will not have a transcript to understand the video, right? Or what if it does have words, but the video has a copyright? So it's not necessarily a copyright, but for example, if you want to add a song here, I recommend that you test it first, because many record labels will have like an algorithm that will block the possibility for generating these transcripts. So even though the song does have lyrics, you might not be able to extract them, right? Because maybe it has a copyright infringement algorithm that prevents the lyrics from being generated. Let's see if this works. And it doesn't. So this is one of those. I don't know if this is a copyright thing or if it's simply it's just a video tour and it doesn't have any words. So this is a good example of when it doesn't work. So I cannot use, or I can use this video, but I cannot rely on the prompt understanding the video. So let's try another one just to see if we can get it to work. So let's add it to the other side just for the sake of variety. And this time I'm going to look for a video about video sobre lobos. I'm going to look for a video about wolves again, because this activity is in Spanish. I'm going to add the AI context and generate it, and I'm going to add the prompt. What is the, sorry, this is in Spanish. De qué se trata el video, right? So I'm going to ask again. And this time it does work. And the way I know is because I can see that Speakable knows what the video is about. So the video, Todo sobre los lobos, by Video Animal, provides an overview of what wolves, members of the canid family, and also includes dogs, coyotes, and jackals. Scientific name, blah, 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 right? So it understands what the video is about. And now if you see this and it's successful and you see the content, you can just start and use the activity right there and then. So another tip, always test your AI context in case of videos or podcasts, because there might be some systems that will block the transcript from being generated. But again, you can use it. I think I haven't shown you how this works. So I haven't watched this video again, but I'm going to assume what it's about. Let me do my best to answer this question. So, el video trata de los lobos y otros animales en la familia de los cánidos, como los coyotes, chacales y perros. Habla del nombre científico de los lobos, su hábitat, su dieta y sus costumbres. All right, so I did my best. I did not watch the video, but I'm going to assume the video is about what I said it was, and it looks like I did. And the response provides a clear, a concise overview of what the video is about, specifically mentioning wolves and their related species. You address the teacher's prompt effectively by summarizing the content of the video. Keep up the good work and ensure you maintain this level of clarity in your future responses. Look, I didn't watch the video, but I think I nailed it. That was good. That was a good answer. So there you go. And this is one of those situations in which the video is understood, and your students will be graded on it. Remember that if you add a video, you can ask general questions like, oh, what's the video about? Like in this case, or you can ask very specific questions, like according to the video, what is the scientific name of the wolf in Latin, and then, oh, Canis lupus. Yeah, perfect. If you want a specific thing to be evaluated, you can do it too. So good tool for general or specific comprehension. Now, the final, I'm going to say, recommendation that I have for you when it comes to generating or creating an activity manually is make sure that there's variety, right? Every now and then we go to see what activities have been created, and it's just, 40 repeat cards. I mean, of course, there's no denying the importance of having 40 words in there. Of course, you're teaching vocabulary, so that's something that you should do. But 40 times of repeating sentences will get old for your teachers. Of course, age is a big importance here. The older your students, let's say, the more you can get away with. But if you're teaching very young students and you are including lots and lots of the same type of card, they will not enjoy them very much, right? I mean, repetitiveness is not appreciated. So I recommend a good mix of multiple choice, repeat, respond, also media pages, which is just like the area for the videos on their own, or pictures or whatever. If you want to add some passive knowledge in here, yeah, of course you can do it. Welcome to do it. But general recommendations for activities: have a good mix of everything, some repeat cards, some respond cards, some multiple choice cards, because all of them are important. And also because, yeah, the variety is going to keep your activity fun, right? So it's important to do that. Also, another recommendation when it comes to length, when we go into the Discover tab, when we can see what other teachers are doing, you can click on one and see what it is. This one is 12 cards. 12 cards is, I'm gonna say, a good length, but every now and then you see one that is extremely long. Like I'm gonna say 50 cards. 50 cards I would not recommend. Like, in general, I would say that less than 30 would be recommended. 15 is a really good number. And it's better to have multiple activities of 15 than one of 50. Yeah. So it's just, again, you can do it if you want to, if you have, lots of knowledge, not lots of content to cover, then you can do this. But I, in general, would recommend sticking to between 15 and 25. I think it's like the sweet spot for a speakable activity that contains, like, that's very complete, but also, short enough to be done in a few minutes, so that your students don't end up, bored in the middle of the activity. So another tip right there. Another tip, this one, what we're doing, like, check what other teachers are doing. For example, I can check, oh, I want to create activity about passive voice, but I'm not sure how to approach it. Let me see what other teachers have done. And then you can see what the teacher did, and you can see like the type of activities that have been created. As you can see, this is a 22 card activity. So you can do something like this. You can copy it, you can edit it. Oh, this one I made, I knew. But yeah, you can check what other teachers are doing, and that's something else that will help you out. You can simply take them as a model, or you can take an activity and copy it so that you can edit it. You can do that as well. Final recommendation when it comes to your activities. I mean, there's going to be, at first, is you're going to have, maybe 4 or 5 activities, and that's okay. That's easy to manage. But at some point, you're going to have, like me, 7 pages of activities created. So in that case, I recommend that you create folders for them, right? How you label them, it's up to you. But I recommend, for example, 3rd grade, or by weeks, or by different proficiency levels. If this is one for advanced students or beginner students, you can do that. In my case, I don't do this too much, but I have some, for example, with Japanese activities, and these are activities I created for Japanese classes specifically. I have other folders for, well, this one's empty, but I created this one for a series of webinars that we were doing before. So I was storing them here. These are some activities that I just for testing purposes. So that's what you could do. Keep things organized into folders so that things are easier to navigate later on. If you click on all of them, as you can see, I mean, I have 7 pages of this stuff. So yeah, another recommendation, change the folders, or add folders, so that you can organize this a bit better. The same thing is true for classrooms. Like at some point you will have classrooms with lots of different activities. So labeling them clearly, and making sure that the completed activities are marked as complete is another good idea, so that your students don't have to, you don't have a lot of clutter in their screens. And you don't have clutter on your screens either. So that's another recommendation. So those are some tips and tricks. Let me see if I'm forgetting something. Yes, one final one, and that is, if you are a novice when it comes to Speakable, then what I would recommend is, if you're not sure how to do stuff or how to create a good activity, when you create an activity, go with Create with AI and give Speakable, or give Chatty, in this case, our mascot, the keys to your activity, right? And tell it what you want. You can talk to it as you were talking to a person. It's like, oh, Chatty, I want this kind of activity with this type of thing. Let me show you what a prompt, a good prompt would look like. But in general, I recommend that you add several details to the prompt, like, for example, what language you want. Let me show you this prompt. I'm just going to tell Chatty this. So I want a speakable activity for beginner Spanish learners to test their ability to describe people, include vocabulary like hair color, facial hair, eye color, and more. Please make 5 repeat cards, 5 respond cards, oral and written, and finish with 3 multiple choice cards. So when you add a prompt that is complete like this, Chatty will have everything and will be ready to go. If your prompt was not super clear, then Chatty will ask you like, hey, what is this for? Like, what is the objective? Any specific vocabulary that you like me to teach? So if you haven't been super clear, then you can just clarify those things. But in this case, I can just say confirm, and Chatty will create the activity for me. So this is a good first step. Yes, I mentioned a good activities between 15 and 25. I think I have this with this one. We have 13, close enough, and that's a good starting point. So Chatty will give me the cards for it, and I can take those and keep editing them, add more myself. Like you can take use Chatty as Chatty's activities as the model, and as you can see, you can generate them with images immediately, and you can add them. So that you can automate, a long part of the process. So this was about blonde hair. Here it is. This is about baldness. Here it is. This is about green eyes, and she has green eyes. This is about a long beard. He has a long beard. So as you can see, everything that it took us, several minutes to create, Chatty did in 20 seconds. So you can just keep editing the file as you want, but Chatty is a good first step, and then you can take it from there, tweak the auto grading, tweak the feedback type, tweak the images, whatever you want. This would be a very good first step. I'm going to publish this one. Again, it's going to remind me, okay, the name of the activity is Test Activity 3, and I'm going to add a cover image, and it's going to be an igloo. Why? I have no idea why I'm thinking of igloos, but I'm just going to include one. And I'm going to set the language. This is for Spanish. And everything else. Oh, yeah, let's add it to a folder. I'm going to add it to Speakable Week and publish and assign. So now my activity has been officially being created. I can add it to one of my classrooms. Like let's add it to these two. I'm going to set the assignments without a specific schedule, and I'm ready to go. So there you go. Without much effort, without much time, we created a Speakable activity with images, with all the different card types, with a clear objective and one that looks good. So there you go. First step, let Speakable, let Chatty do the thing, and you take it from there. You can keep editing as you see fit. So yeah, those are some of the things I wanted to share with you. I'm not sure if you have any questions. We still have some time for addressing any specific doubts or something you might have. So yes, I invite everyone in the audience to let me know what you think. We have several viewers on StreamYard, on YouTube, and on Twitter. So yes, let me know. Do you have any questions? Anything else? If you have used Speakable before, do you have a specific question about it? Or if you haven't, would you like to try it? Some of the features that I mentioned today are available for organizations. So if you want your entire school to have this tool, then let us know and we can set something up so that you can try it out, in a real class with real teachers, your real students, and get some feedback that way. Feel free to let us know so we can set something up for you. Yeah. So I see no questions for now. Let me see if I am missing something. I can see that at the beginning of the session, Carmita was telling us that this is her second year using Speakable. So yes, if you're still in the audience, Carmita, I wanted to ask you, how has your experience been? If you have been here for 2 years, you have seen the different iterations of the software. Like to let us know what's something that you use the most. What is a feature that I know in the wish list? What do you wish Speakable had? We are a very quick moving team, and we can develop updates very quickly. Actually, you were testing one of the features live, something that was just released, which is the ability for the AI creator to assign images immediately. So there you go. We're a super quick moving team, and you were the first to test it with me there. So cool stuff. Any questions from the audience? All right. Then, if there are no questions or doubts, let me invite you to the next one. So this is the last one of the week. Of course, it's Friday, but next week we're going to be teaching some more webinars, specifically some about teaching very young audiences, like very young kids. If you have very young students, we're going to focus on how to use Speakable, or tips and tricks on teaching very young kids. If you're teaching, we're also going to mention older kids as a contrast as well. And we're also going to focus a little bit more on ACTFL and WIDA standards. So if you're curious on what goes into these level assessments, we're also going to be doing this. And I think we're going to be doing some of the ones that we did this week, like fluency exercises and comprehension. So if reading comprehension and listening comprehension are important for you and you missed the ones from this week, we're going to be teaching those next week as well, towards the end of the week, to give everybody the chance to learn how to do these activities in the best way possible. But anyway, I see no more questions. So thank you very much for your attendance. And yeah, let us know if you have any questions. Our website, let me put it in the banner if you haven't seen it. So it's speakable.io. Feel free to visit our website if you have any questions. We have frequently asked questions there. Also, important information about data privacy and compliance to different states' laws in terms of digital usage and things like that. We have that there if you're curious. So yeah, that would be it for today. And thank you very much for your attendance. Have a lovely rest of the day.